You're listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. Each week, your host, Polly Requa, interviews veterinarians and individuals in the pet industry from across the nation answering pet questions. Bark and Wag podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes can be found at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. That's BARKNWAG.com. Please remember to subscribe to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. Bark and Wag is dedicated to protecting our dogs through advocacy, education, and supporting like-minded dog lovers by selling custom pet products. Bark and Wag is excited to announce our new partnership with a Colorado hemp farm to produce a line of CBD products for your pets. Bark and Wag has CBD pet tincture available in 300, 750, 1200, and 2400 milligrams. Bark and Wag CBD is pet safe, no THC, it's made in the USA, and is CO2 extracted. Please check out Bark and Wag's website, barkandwag.com. That is BARK, to see our line of CBD and awesome merchandise. We love pooch ideas for podcasts and merchandise, so anytime send an email to Polly at barkandwag.com with your suggestions.
Welcome to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. I'm your host, Polly Requa. Today we're talking to Deputy John Gray about Back the Blue. Welcome, John.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for being on the podcast. So I wanted to have you on to learn more about what is Back the Blue.
Yeah, so Back the Blue K-9 Force is a nonprofit organization, and they started a while back trying to provide ballistic vests to police dogs in the metropolitan area of Denver. And now Back the Blue, through donations in the community and fundraising efforts, they provide not only bulletproof vests to dogs, but they also provide equipment, and they provide medical care for our dogs. And they've actually purchased all of our dogs for our agency, to include our 5 therapy dogs that work in our schools.
And how did it begin? Like, how did it start?
So a woman by the name of Diane Lewis and her friends saw the need in our community for help, and our police dogs at the time didn't really have the equipment that they needed to do their job safely. And lots of police dogs were being shot and or hurt. And so they, when they started looking at how can we raise funds, they put their minds together and they started a nonprofit organization. And what started, just with the mindset of vests has turned into, just a much bigger effort. And now, we really wouldn't be able to fund and run our program the way we do without them.
And so just out of curiosity, how much does a dog vest cost?
So the ballistic dog vests are anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000, and they started being pretty bulky and kind of heavy for the dog to wear, and now they have much lighter panels and vests that are a lot more comfortable for the dogs to wear. And they actually did a lot of heat studies on them that show they're great. And so they're expensive, but so are police dogs, and we don't want to see them get hurt. And so they not only pay for those vests, but even our dogs that work in our schools, we have equipment, right? Whether it's our nylon harness that we use that has handles so kids can hold on as they want to walk the dog to class, or maybe we have a student that has sensory issues and doesn't want to touch the dog themselves. They can either interact with the dog with the harness, and even those are about $400. So equipment for our canine programs can be fairly expensive, which is why we rely so much on Back the Blue K-9 Force.
And how many dogs do you think you're working with right now?
So the school resource canine unit has 5 dogs. We started with my dog Rex, and he started about 2 years ago, and now we have 5. So it was so successful with Rex that we expanded, and all of our 5 dogs are all related. They all come from the same breeder, which is amazing. And they start working at 8 weeks old, and they come right to the schools and interact with thousands of students as a puppy. And it's wonderful because they don't know any different. So they love spending time with the kids because it's all they know, and then we do work and partner with our canine unit as well. And they have 6 dogs. So together, Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office has 11 dogs.
Okay. And tell us about the dogs. Like, what breed are they?
Yeah, so we have Labrador retrievers, and all of our dogs are dual purpose. So they're all therapy dogs, and obviously, with three of them still being very young, they're in training, and so they will become certified as therapy dogs, and then they also provide school safety by using their nose. So, like Rex is a full explosive detection dog, so he can find guns and bombs and so while people are interact with the dog and petting him, he can also have the ability to find a weapon in a school. And that's
Wow,
kind
that's
of our,
amazing.
that's what our program set out to do, is to provide mental health support to students, but also to provide safety. And we saw the need there, with just firearms and weapons in general, and so we wanted to see what we could actually do to try to help out, and this is just one thing.
Yeah, that's great. How long is the training to become a therapy dog and bomb sniffer? I mean, what do you send the dog away or is it ongoing?
So our training is ongoing. So when we get our dogs, like I said, we get them at 8 weeks. The first year of life is really focused on socialization of the dog and getting them to a point where they're very confident, because therapy dogs in general, they may work in a hospital, or maybe they visit a nursing home and it's quiet, or it's a relaxed environment. But we're going into elementary schools where you could have 400 kids screaming in a cafeteria, or maybe there's kids throwing tennis balls and basketballs all over the place. And so these are a lot of situations that we have to train in. Our dogs are exposed to gunfire, sirens, different things like that, so that they're very confident and very comfortable. So after that first year, we start focusing on, how do we get the dog to, or I should say, in that first year, we start focusing on how do we get the dog to where they need to be for scent work. So we start training them, on the initial scent, which is guns. So we start out with black powder, and then we work from there through all the rest of the explosive odors. So it takes about a year and a half to get them therapy trained and explosive trained. And then after their initial certification, we spend the rest of the time as the dog works doing weekly, daily trainings, and monthly trainings as well. So training is always happening. So when people see us in the community and they're like, how are your dogs so well behaved? It's because we train every day.
Okay. And does your dog Rex live with you?
He does, yeah. So my dog lives with me and pretty much goes everywhere with me. And, even though he is the sheriff's dog, at a certain point when he retires, it's pretty neat that we get to, the dogs get to stay with us, which I think is pretty cool, because as a handler, you spend your career building your bond with your dog. And so all five of our handlers on our SRO K-9 unit will get to keep their dog. But, right
Oh,
now,
that's neat.
they live with them, and so it's a lot of fun.
Oh, great. So I understand you're having an event called Rex Run for Positivity. Can you tell us about the event?
Yeah, so the Rex Run is really an event inspired to bring awareness, I think, to what we're doing, right? And so, with this being such a new program to law enforcement, where when most people hear a police dog, they just think of a dog that either chases down bad people or finds drugs, or maybe finds evidence. But you know, having a therapy dog that works with people is really kind of a newer concept. So we wanted to have an event where people could come out, they could see the dogs, they could support the dogs, they could learn about, what it is that the dogs do. And the event raises money for us to get more dogs into schools. And right now that's the goal, is to continue to focus on how do we impact more students? How do we impact more people? So like I said, we've expanded largely, and that was largely because of the Rex Run. So people can come out, they can see the dogs all work. We also have all of our patrol dogs there, and they'll do demonstrations. And we have other agencies that we work closely with that will have their dogs there. So it's a huge canine event, and people can come out and learn about lots of the different jobs police dogs do, and they can also learn about how dogs affect mental health. And I think it's a really neat way for us to engage with people that don't always get to meet police dogs, or maybe they don't know a lot about the behind the scenes training and there's also all sorts of fun stuff for kids to do there. I know there's going to be a balloon artist there making all sorts of fun balloon art for kids, and there's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, good. Well, what a great community event. So it sounds wonderful, and we thank you for all you're doing with your dog and for the community. And I look forward to having you back on the podcast.
Yeah, we hope that on August 26th, that's the Rex run for this year. So hopefully everybody will come out, and we look forward to meeting everybody.
I'll put all the information in the show notes. So thank you again, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, www.barkandwag.com, to your friends and other pet owners. Have a pressing question for a veterinarian? Ask your question at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. This has been a KFR production. Join us next time for another edition of Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk.